3 numbers that show how Raphael Warnock won the Georgia runoff. The blueprint for how Democrats can win Georgia is becoming clearer and clearer. In a year when Republicans won every other statewide race in Georgia in November, Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock earned re-election in the once-red state in Tuesday's Senate runoff, winning roughly 51.4% of the vote compared to 48.6% for GOP challenger Herschel Walker. After edging out Walker on Election Day, Warnock narrowly improved on his margins across the state in the runoff. He was buoyed by strong enough turnout in the Atlanta area, particularly among Black voters. And he built up an advantage from early and mail voting that Republicans simply could not catch, a subject the GOP is belatedly addressing after its disappointing midterms. Here are the numbers that explain how the incumbent Democrat pulled it off. Georgia's runoff results highlighted once again the recent partisan polarization of methods of voting. Since 2020, Republican leaders, including former President Donald Trump, have expressed skepticism of early and absentee voting methods, although a number of Republican leaders other than Trump appear to be rethinking that opposition after losses in Georgia and elsewhere. Democrats dominated both those types of voting during the runoff, with Warnock winning more than 58% support from those who cast their ballots either early or by mail. That reflected in part the demographic groups more likely to vote early. Black voters accounted for 31.8% of those who cast their ballots ahead of Election Day, several percentage points higher than in November. Despite records set in the first few days of early voting, there was still significantly less total early voting than in the January 2021 runoffs, when the early voting period was longer and overall turnout, including Election Day voting, topped 4.4 million, compared to only 3.5 million this year. But the early and absentee vote still allowed Warnock to build a lead of more than 320,000 votes, which Walker was unable to overcome on Election Day. The GOP nominee won the Election Day vote by around 225,000 votes, not enough to put him over the top. After trailing Warnock slightly in the November election that prompted the runoff, Walker either needed to shift turnout in his favor or improve his margins. He couldn't do it. Walker's share of the two-party vote improved in just 26 of the state's 159 counties, according to a Politico analysis of unofficial results reported by the Georgia Secretary of State's office. The counties where he managed to improve were largely small and rural, accounting for just 5% of total votes cast in the state, so Walker could not bank enough votes to offset Warnock's gains elsewhere. That was always going to be tough without popular GOP Governor Brian Kemp also on the ballot, though Kemp did jump into the runoff campaign following his re-election. Despite some split-ticket voting, Kemp's win by a margin greater than 7 points likely helped keep Walker close in November.